Thank you so much for coming back to Sarita Talks. It is my genuine pleasure to have so many awesome people that I actually know want to come on and talk about, which is even better, amazing things that they're able to do in the community. This is one of my dear friends, Shaunda Hamilton, and I'm just so glad that she can come on and tell us a little bit about Boone County Community Against Violence, BCCAV. Shaunda, tell us a little bit about your nonprofit and ways that we can help.
Okay. So, hello, everyone. And thank you so much, Sarita, for having me on. That's something I'm really passionate about.
Absolutely.
So I'm the co-founder of Boone County Community Against Violence. And we're an advocacy group, and we work with victims in the community. So the nonprofit was created in 2019 after the loss of my daughter. She was a victim of gun violence here in Columbia, Missouri, killed at 18 years old in 2019. And so after that happened is whenever we started the nonprofit. At the time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do in the nonprofit, but I just knew I had to do something.
Yeah.
So one of the first things we did is we had a health fair, and where we focused on Stop the Bleed. And so pretty much everything that we've done and how the nonprofit has transformed has been through some of my own experiences and really seeing where victims and survivors really need the most help.
Excellent. Now explain to our viewers what Stop the Bleed is and why it's so important.
So the night, like say my daughter, Nadria Wright, was killed, there was someone that was there, and he didn't really know what to do in this situation. And so I know that it was important that people do understand if they're ever in a situation with someone, how to be able to have that bleeding stop for, compress the compression for the blood flow. It could possibly save a life.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. We talked, they learned CPR, Stop the Bleed. We had agencies from the University Hospital, departments from there, mental health, Narcan, all types of people came and supported that. We worked alongside with Boys and Girls Club.
Absolutely, because let me tell you, when there's synergistic relationships within the nonprofit sphere, you can tap into so many resources. And a lot of times it gets lumped in under this umbrella of wraparound services, no matter what you want to call it. Iron sharpens iron. So the more people that are involved in conversations just like this, the better results that you will have. Now, Shaunda, I know that this came out of a tragedy. Tell us a little bit about being a victim's advocate and how that goes.
It gets really tough. And so one of the things that's really important as a victim's advocate is that you are not trauma bonding and making sure that victim's experience is their experience.
Okay.
Even if it's very similar to yours, because at that time you really need to be there for them and to support them.
Okay.
And you had said something really very poignant a few minutes ago about working with other agencies and other nonprofits and things like that. I think one of the things about Boone County Community Against Violence, BCCAV, or sometimes lovingly known as BCAV, is that we, because of the type of survivors or victims that we work with, I feel like we're kind of like a secret. Because we are not really out here in where you see what's going on in the background, we really make sure that we maintain privacy and discretion, and that we are really focused on the families.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you said, again, I'm going to go back to that.
Yes,
is
please
that I
do.
think that it's really important that as we've transitioned over the last several years, is that we do need to be showing the faces more, and so that people have an understanding. Victims are really sometimes kind of left in the background, and so it's kind of like you don't see them, so you forget about it.
Absolutely.
You don't know, all the different things that they go through and how they have to process their loss, and then there's multiple losses that happen. So they have the loss of their loved one, sometimes a loss of finances, loss of friends. This really gets complex, and so one of the things that I want to start working on is really making sure that that they're not forgotten,
Absolutely.
and that their loved ones are remembered.
Well, let me tell you, this woman has done an excellent job of making sure Nadria and her message still lives on. When I was at the front desk here, we had these little cards from Columbia College.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about how she was in college and how the whole college has stood behind her. How impressive. And we say a lot of times that victims, they don't have a voice.
Mhm.
Her voice is still resonating and it's doing some good things. Tell us, please, a little bit about it.
Yes. So, yeah. Okay. This is what I get.
I was to do.
So yes, Nature does have a scholarship, nursing scholarship at Columbia College. I was one of the people who was pretty lucky to have a lot of people that supported me and stood by me through that whole process. That college scholarship was started and created by Stacy Buttons, Suzanne Rothwell from Columbia College, and Stacy Buttons from Reading, and Jesse Yankee. They had came to me and they said, what is it something that you would really want to do? Nursing was a passion for Nature. She was really excited to go to college because she was pretty quiet. She was just really having a great time meeting people and just kind of coming out of her shell. And so that was one of the things I wanted to do. When we lost Nadria, I said, I did not want, her loss to be in vain. And so we have to figure out how can we continue her name and also help other people.
And let me tell you how beautiful it is, because someone is getting benefited from that. But I really want to touch on gun violence. Bullets don't have names because they weren't looking for her. So let me tell you a little bit about when I met Shaunda. Okay. So I'm at the front desk, and like I've said before, sweating under my armpits, scared to death. Somebody's going to look behind my business card and Google me. Well, I see the card, and Lauren, because I restocked the cards, another wonderful person who worked here, said, this is for Shaunda's daughter. She died, she was murdered. So now I'm really scared because I know about my case. Of course I know. And I've been holding these secrets inside of me. And the one person I was most afraid of to find me out was Shaunda. So I ended up, after it had been some months and nobody was questioning why I was like, blah, didn't know anything. And she was trying to work with me and I'm like, blah, I don't understand. It was a hard learning curve. I told her where I lived and she said, did you get out of prison? And I was
familiar with the house.
Yes. And I just started crying. And I said, yes, I went to prison for killing my abuser. And I've been so afraid that she would find out because I was afraid to even look up what had happened to her daughter. I was just like, oh. And she said, I don't judge anybody. Yeah. And she told me that the other day.
I told you that the other day. Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that day. And after that, I actually asked Sarita to be, we were, my nonprofit was partnered with Ragtag. We're one of the community partners. And so we did documentary screenings. And so I did invite Sarita to be on there and to talk about that.
Yeah.
And one of the things is, and during that time too, that screening that we had done, it was really a transformation. Like I said, this whole process for victims and survivors is really a whole processing and transformation. I still was not completely where I needed to be at that time and still am not. But I do understand where you have to protect yourself, but not only because, see, one of the things that we do that I think that is so important is we talk about victims, but working with victims, what also happens is if we're able to work with victims and get them the resources that they need, we're really big on getting resources. And again, want to work with community partners as well. It's really important that we do that because when something happens to you like this, what is the first thing that normally people do? I had to say that you're angry.
Yes,
and
be
you
angry.
Want revenge and you want retaliation. And I remember when all of this happened, some of my posts on Facebook would be kind of like out there sometimes.
Okay.
And I'd have to say, and then I would put the end of it, I would say, I'm human. Because you the right things to do.
Yeah.
But you're human and you have feelings.
We are all human beings.
And we have feelings. And
Yeah.
so, no, I didn't judge Sarita at all. And number one, I do know in domestic violence, a lot of times, this is just a whole nother situation in the things that happen to people who are abused in trying to protect yourself during domestic violence, whether you're a man or a woman.
Yeah.
And so, no. So, yeah, I remember that day.
That was one of
class. We were sitting there.
Yeah. He said, come, let me get a hug. And let me tell you, it was just like, I was able to exhale because I've talked about it before, like 6 months of my life around all these people. I was like, I had this burden behind me. I had this like, it was like just having the most massive cloud over you, and you don't want anyone to think that you're not fake, that your smile's not, that they have to be scared of you. Any of these stereotypes that I had myself before it became me. And I just knew that when I got out, that if they found out, they would never trust me. They would never care. I would be thrown to the wayside as just, another violent criminal.
It was also a victim.
Thank you.
Needed to share your story.
Thank you.
And I wanted you to do that.
And listen,
that's the things that we want to do. Is
yes.
Share this because you went through a lot of things with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that self-doubt, not wanting people to see you, to feel pity for you, all the different types of things that you feel as a victim.
Yes.
Just being out in public and people having that look on their face. And that's really hard for victims to be able to do that.
And it's hard to deal with our own suffering because, like you said, friends, and that is like the ultimate, I hate to say it, betrayal but they turn around and it's like their life goes on, but you don't understand what's happening to me, nor are you willing to try. Did you experience that as well?
Oh, yes. I've lost friends through this whole process, and I've also gained a lot of wonderful people who I never would have known previously.
Right.
Because there are a lot of good people in this community who do care. I think we really have to figure out, like, one of the things for us in the nonprofit as well is figuring out, like, where they need to be and where they, like, because we could use help here. We could use a lot of help in the nonprofit. So if you are wanting to talk to me about that, you can email me at yourbccav@gmail.com.
Okay.
And we can set up something to talk about, like, what is the fit for you. That's one of the things. See, I never had a nonprofit before. I never thought about having a nonprofit before. And a lot of times nonprofits are run out of love.
True.
And, even though we do need money for programming. And our nonprofit has been run out of love.
Oh, no.
So
tell us that contact information one more time.
Well, I'm going to give you this too. So your BCCAV@gmail.com.
Exactly. So the love is still going to be there, but funding. They don't call it a non-for-profit for no reason.
For programs.
Yes, yes. So here's the thing is if you can dedicate time, energy, and money, those are the things that not-for-profits that are in the upstart phase, even though you've been going for some years, when we team up with other agencies, it's because we want to provide those wraparound services, but we also need to tap into their resources as well. So if you have some resources that you can dedicate, please do. BCCAV.
Well, one of the things I do want to say is, so Nadria's birthday is coming up, and this is what's really been and I'm okay to talk about it at this point now. So, we talk about victims and survivors, and then that whole process and all the things that comes with court, and all the things that my court situation did not turn out to be a good thing at all. The person who was sent to prison for Nadria, our loss of Nadria, he was released last week, and he is here in town. And so, hey, we have to go ahead, and that's another thing that we have to go ahead and continue to deal and move forward with and things like that. But again, in the very beginning, I had said I did not want her loss to be in vain. So right now, what's really important to me is that memorial scholarship that was created from the love of people in this community. And we are almost at the point that it will be perpetual.
Nice.
And so it is, and so we were raising $25,000. We are there at the halfway mark, and we have a couple of more years before we are able to complete that. So her birthday is coming up, and Nature will be 23 on July 6th. And so for me, we need about $12,000 more dollars. And so what I would love for people to do right now is to raise this money.
Yeah, and it's
to
a
be
nursing
able-
scholarship,
Yes,
which was so
At
dear to
Columbia
her
College.
heart.
Mhm.
Yes.
at Columbia College, and to be able to get this money,
Mhm.
and once we raise the rest of this money, that is a perpetual scholarship. That means it's never ever going away.
That's
It
right.
will be able to continue to go. That will be a legacy in Nadria's name. And so
Mhm.
I'm going to give you that information
Yeah,
there.
please do. Please do. And while she's finding that information, I just want to talk about the impact that one person can have. One person can have so much impact. Okay. So when I get out here and I'm, talking about all my things, and all the awesome people, that one event has changed the course to where so many people are going to be able to benefit, but also there's going to be people who are able to learn how to stop things like this from happening. Because I feel like a lot of times you're in a state of shock, that you're in a state of panic, you don't know exactly what to do. And if we had some type of like muscle memory that, hey, I learned this, I learned this, I learned this, I learned this, it should be as easy as stop, drop, and roll, which now has, listen, they've turned it, because I'm in my 40s. Now it's cover your eyes, stop, drop, and roll. So how could we implement that?
Yeah. Right now we've given away 2 scholarships.
Nice.
And so for the donation, you would go to my.ccis.edu/right.
And I'll go ahead and
WRIGHT.
Okay, I'm going to put that in the comments, and I cut you off. Go one more time, please.
So that's my.ccis.edu /right, WRIGHT.
Absolutely. So we're going to put that in the comments. BCCAV.
That's a nonprofit, but
yes,
this is going to go directly to her page at Columbia College, where you're able to make the donation. So you're able to make a one-time donation, or you're able to do a reoccurring donation.
And that would be wonderful. Legacy.
Yes, that's really our goal.
Keep things going long after, and here's the thing, like a lot of people are selling estates, or they're looking for something to do charitable. This is your opportunity to really make a change. Yeah. Shaunda, I just want you to lead us out with some kind. Oh, and let me tell you, she helped me come out of the closet of imprisonment. Yeah, because she invited me to the speaking event, and I was a little green. I wasn't as good as, telling the story as I am now, but they listened, and it made me feel good, and it made me feel.
So you saw you had a story to share, and people wanted to know about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that we do give people opportunities to be able to talk about and share their stories. And so, I'd like to do some more work with you for some other people as well.
Absolutely.
To be able to come out here and share their story.
Absolutely. Because it's all about helping each other, and somebody right now could be battling something, and maybe they can be encouraged that you can make it and you can help others. All right, Shaunda, tell us one more good thing and we will wrap up for today. But I need you to come back. Will you come back? That's right. Okay, tell us something.
So again, I just want to tell Sarita, thank you so much for being on her show and being able to talk about the nonprofit, and most importantly, how important it is that we have so many things going on in the community. And right now we're talking about so many different issues with gun violence prevention and violence prevention. And through the midst of all of that, what I want to make sure is that we do have people that are also, have been forgotten a lot of times, and through that whole process. So they're going through the whole process of finding out about the loss of their loved one, to being at the hospital. There's different processes that happen there that people don't know about it until it happens. And then the process of court. And then the process of having to, it's just so many things. As I said, there's so many things. And I want to really make sure that while we're working on these violent preventions programs, that making sure that we're taking care of victims and their survivors is really important as well, and that they have the supports that they need, and that if you know someone, to please just give them a check on them. We have a lot of grief that's right now going on through the community, and so we will be learning also on child grief as well. So we don't even have all the time for all of this, but even with the schools and things like that, we have so many things that are going on right now. So and I will be doing some training as well for grief training for children and things as well, because that's the other thing too. But again, you have to remember that all of these things that impact victims also are a part of violence prevention as well, because if we can try to get in there and give them the supports they need and get to the resources and things that they need for them and their families, that could be one less retaliation or anything that could happen.
And help to move through the cycles and the stages of grief.
Yeah.
That's why she's going to come back on. And that's why we're going to talk more about that.
Yeah.
And especially youth, because if you train people up to see this violence on TV, not a fan of John Wick, the man walks in a room, kills 45 people right off the bat. Here's what I'm saying. Like, those 45 people had families. You know, they might have been hitmen, but they still had a mom. They still had a dad. So when you're watching things like that, you're hearing things, let's just work to try and change things. Shaunda, I can't wait to have you back. And